A very active period of weather is well underway as of the time I'm speaking right now, and it'll continue over the next couple of days as we have several days now of severe weather anticipated across many areas of the US. Millions of people are affected by this potentially. So, weather is all about potential, right? And so, videos like this are to show you your ceiling and also tell you what you can expect in your area. So, if you appreciate that approach to forecasting, please consider leaving a like down below and subscribing to the channel. I would greatly appreciate it. Of course, I would appreciate more if you guys would leave a comment below where you're watching from, and I would greatly appreciate that. So starting off here, we have three different outlooks to show you. I'm going to show you today's and spend minimal time on it. This is ongoing right now. There's storms that have fired. In fact, this is what they look like. There's a few in this area right now that could be producing all hazards at any given moment. So we'll go over that here in a second, but this is our outlook. We have a level 3 out of 5 enhanced risk in areas of Texas and Oklahoma. Here you can see it on the map. So we can break this down by type. Our tornado risk is actually upgraded very recently to a 10% risk, very small area. We're talking like, you know, a matter of not that many miles across. This is a pretty focused area here from Childress, Texas to Altus, Oklahoma, along the Red River here. So what this really is just a locally higher chance to see tornadoes. And these black hash marks that you see indicate these tornadoes could be a max reasonable intensity of EF2 tornadoes. So a little bit stronger than your average tornado, right? And you move down to our wind risk. So we have a little bit broader of a risk here. We have a 15% risk in this yellow that you see of seeing winds exceed 55 knots or greater. And then this black hashing means that these storms could produce wind gusts up to a hurricane force or so, 65 knots or greater. So just locally higher potential in these areas. And our hail outlook looks like this. This is what's driving that enhanced risk. 30% risk of hail in this red area you see here. And the criteria for that are hail exceeding 1 inch in diameter or larger across the entire thing. And then this black hashing means that we could see hail over 2 inches in diameter inside of it. And then let's move on here and get past this. This is tomorrow's outlook. This is what I'm mostly focused on here. Let's read this here. Our marginal risk covers nearly 30 million people. I mean, this is ridiculous to me. This is just huge risk here. I don't think the Storm Prediction Center is wrong. It's just insane to me. Even our enhanced risk covers over 6 million people. So just a lot of people under the gun for tomorrow. This is tomorrow's outlook if I failed to mention that. So it's hard to focus on individual areas, but starting in the southern plains here, this darker green is the level 1 out of 5 marginal risk from areas of Oklahoma, Texas, into Arkansas here, and a little bit of the northern parishes of Louisiana here. We also do have from San Angelo up to Abilene, Texas, a smaller slight risk, and we'll go over why that is here in a second. We'll break this down by type in a second. This is just the general outlook. And then moving to the central plains here, we have a level 2 out of 5 slight risk in areas of central and eastern Kansas, same for Oklahoma, western and central Arkansas, and a large portion of Missouri here, extending all the way up into southern Wisconsin, Iowa, Illinois, and some counties in Nebraska under the gun here as well. And then our enhanced risk here, level 3 out of 5, goes from the central and western half or so of Missouri, the central, really just the eastern third of Oklahoma and Kansas, and then several counties in northwest Arkansas, and then down to the Red River. So what comprises this outlook? Well, our tornado risk is obviously the highest criteria. This is what can be the most damaging. So we have a 2% risk of seeing tornadoes all the way down to the Austin areas of Texas. And then it goes all the way up to central Michigan and in Wisconsin. I mean, insane how wide of an area this is. But obviously our main criteria is right in here in this yellow. It goes from the Red River in Oklahoma all the way up to Springfield, Missouri. This is where we have a 10% risk of seeing tornadoes within 25 miles of any given location. And these black hash marks mean that the reasonable max intensity of these tornadoes is EF2. So this black risk goes all the way up, or this black hashing, sure, but this brown risk here goes all the way up to southern Wisconsin and just south of the Red River. Again, huge areas here. You can see it on the map. No need to overly name places. That's a 5% risk, and it works the same way, EF2 or up to EF2 intensity. And then there's that 2% risk that surrounds it. And then here's our wind outlook. A little bit less criteria here. We don't have an enhanced risk equivalent, but we do have 15% risk of seeing winds exceed 55 knots or greater, and this yellow and this black hash marks means it could be 65 knots or greater. Our hail risk is what's driving this enhanced risk once again. This is essentially the same outlook as the first thing I showed you that's colored by green, yellow, and orange and all that. It starts all the way down here in central Texas and goes up to, it goes up to northern Michigan. It's insane. And the main criteria here is for Kansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, and Arkansas. That's the main areas here. 30% risk of seeing hail. And these black hash marks mean it could be 2 inches in diameter or larger. And then there's this localized area in San Angelo to Abilene here where we could see this hail reach 2 inches in diameter, and there's a 15% risk of it doing so. So I'm going to do my very best to show you this next one and not yap about it. So this is Saturday's outlook. We don't know the types yet. This just goes from Texas all the way to the border, up to the border, border to border here, all the way up into the Great Lakes region. And we have 2 risks that are higher here, the slight risk in New York, Pennsylvania, Ohio, West Virginia, and Kentucky, down to Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, and Mississippi, even up to the Memphis areas, Tennessee or so. And then this level 1 out of 5 marginal risk that kind of surrounds it, right? This makes its way all the way along and then maybe even east of the Appalachian Mountains in some locations. So very large risk. Once again, in fact, I'm going to show you how many people it is. Marginal risk covers 66 million people. The slight risk covers near 25.5 million people. Tons of people under this risk. And all we know now is that our percentages here. And the highest criteria of this severe could be down here in central and southern Texas. So finally, without further ado, let's move on here. So I do want to show you guys just briefly what our severe threat could evolve to do starting now and moving through this evening. So here's what we got. This cluster of storms in the Texas Panhandle is ongoing, as I showed you a minute ago. And these are expected to kind of intensify a little bit over the next couple of hours and move their way to the north and east. So these clusters will make their way up towards Woodward, Enid, Oklahoma here. And for example, this kind of cluster of storms getting towards midnight, even central time here, could be producing locally higher wind gust potential. And we'll move this up to the north a little bit. These storms make their way into southern, even central Kansas, getting into tomorrow. Right about now is when the sun's going to be starting to come up, and so this cluster is just kind of sitting here, ongoing in areas of eastern Kansas. Even, all this stuff up here, you might be saying, well, Charlie, why aren't you focusing on that? Well, this is likely elevated, so it's the base of these storms is higher up in the sky, and it's likely just a cold rain in this area. Not as much severe potential here, but taking a more zoomed out look, this is getting into tomorrow morning. We'll cover this tomorrow. We even have freezing rain developing here in northern areas of Nebraska here because there's cold air on the backside of this. But anyway, this is how our severe threat is expected to evolve. So I will show you our updraft felicity streaks. These just show where the model is predicting the most rotation to occur, and it occurs right in our risk area here. Our 5% and 10% risks from the Texas Panhandle all the way up to Wichita, Kansas here. So it's a reasonable area, but none of these values are crazy high. And I do want to note some of these storms up here, even though it's a cold rain, could have some rotation embedded. So keep an eye out, but this is not something I'd be worried about. So moving on here, this is our little discussion of how the severe weather is going to happen tomorrow. So I'm going to show you 2 things, and this is the first one. This is the 500 millibar wind speeds. So you really need stronger winds aloft to drive severe weather. That's what drives severe weather most of the time. So I'm gonna move this a few frames and I'll explain to you what I'm talking about. So let's go right about here. So this is a high resolution model, and it's picking up on the idea that we have this jet streak right here. A lot of models indicate this. So jet streaks like this are very complex in their fluid dynamics. But what I'm going to do here is do it like this. This line goes kind of through the base of this jet streak here. And so I'm gonna do something here, and that is along this line and then downstream from it, out ahead of it, is where the most lift will occur for storms, especially closer to it in this area right here. There will be more large-scale forcing for ascent in this area, essentially lift for thunderstorms out along the axis of that trough and then ahead of it. So you can see our risk area is underlaid here, and it moves its way through. This is getting into mid to late afternoon tomorrow, and that axis just shifts to the north and east, and that brings with it the potential for severe weather. We'll go over the radar here in just a second. And then we get out. Let's just take us out to tomorrow morning in the mid afternoon tomorrow morning. So I don't have the outlook pulled up, but, across this area, right, where we have that severe threat. There is flow overriding this region, and this will have the potential to make stuff happen. So let's look at dew points here. Now this is starting off tomorrow about lunchtime. So you'll see multiple colors here. You really need these blues over your area to get severe weather going. I already want you to note, as of lunchtime tomorrow, we're going to be having these dew points well in place. And watch how they surge even further to the north. This is getting into like 5, 6 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. And you can see these surge all the way up to southern Wisconsin here. And then all the way over to the eastern seaboard. I mean, a huge quote-unquote warm sector right here. And with a boundary working its way in right here. And don't get overly caught up in the details. Just our ingredients will be there. This is a ripe environment. Getting even into the overnight hours, we have mid-60s dew points in these areas. This will be driving some sort of severe threat. I'm very sure of that. So let's move on here. I'm going to show you how these storms could evolve. So this is in the southern plains, HRRR, starting off tomorrow about lunchtime. And you'll see how these storms, there's not a lot of them, right? It's getting into later afternoon. We do have several storms. They even kind of have that hook shape to them, right? And so I'm gonna dissect this sounding for you, and I'm gonna tell you right off the bat whether it's favorable or not. So upon first impressions with this, I'm not gonna ask you guys to know what's going on here. If you do, kudos to you. But otherwise, I'm just gonna kind of analyze this for myself. So we can check a few things off the box, right? In this area, pick the worst color possible. Over here, we can see our CAPE. You see ML, that's mixed layer CAPE. We have 1,500 joules per kilogram of it. So our instability, check, right? So let's look at our shear. Let's look at our wind energy. Effective shear, 36 knots. Not great. It's on the lower side, but it can get the job done. So there's that, check and check, right? Now how about our rotation? Well, that's measured right here. Storm relative helicity, SRH. You really look at the effective inflow layer there. And there's 265 meters squared per second squared of effective storm relative helicity. Check, check, and check. That is more than enough. So these storms, to recap, will have the potential to rotate. They'll have the potential to explode because of the instability, and they'll have the potential to sustain themselves because of reasonable amounts of shear. All of this is summarized by possible hazard type, tornado, right? Summarizes it pretty well. Not to get overly detailed with what you're looking at here, but all of our boxes are checked here. So we'll have the potential for it. It's just a matter of whether storms fire or not. The only reason these storms might not fire is because we'll have what's called negative instability working, convective inhibition. It inhibits storms from forming because of drier air and warmer air just above the surface. Even though warm air you think is a good thing, air typically cools off as you move up in the atmosphere. If it warms up, it's called an inversion. Not to get overly detailed, it can hinder storm development. So this is why we have very scattered storms here, but our parameter space looks good. So there's that. And so these storms they really don't do a whole lot. I'm going to move this back out again and reload the page. So yeah, there's a few of them. They don't do a lot though. But as we get towards midnight, they do kind of get their act together. They look more linear though. So this will be more of a damaging wind and hail threat than anything else. So let's move up to the central plains here. And start off at the same time. So this is starting off tomorrow at lunchtime, right about now. And so you can see these storms work through, and watching these areas of kind of Kansas and Oklahoma, Missouri, Arkansas, right in this area, you'll just see these lines of storms. These could produce all hazards. And we know from the Storm Prediction Center that these could even be significant hazards. And it moves off to the east. So let's move up to the north a little bit. I'll reload the page here. It's starting off tomorrow at lunchtime or so, because this risk gets all the way up to the Great Lakes. So I'm showing you this. So you'll see just a nasty look. Look at Iowa here. Just tons of rain, severe weather maybe. Just a lot going on. It gets these possibly intense storms to the UP of Michigan as we're getting towards midnight tomorrow night. Huge area I'm talking about here. And it moves its way out. So to get past that, let's discuss the longer range here. How is our weather going to evolve over the next couple of days or weeks? Well, this is starting off tomorrow morning. This is the European model. So this is just a very broad and coarse look at our storms. But for example, this is getting into tomorrow afternoon. The European model is picking up on storms developing on the north and south side of the Red River here in our risk area. So it's picking up on that. Look at the snow falling in Nebraska here and South Dakota. There's a cold side to this. And we get a lot of development. This is our kind of our risk area for Saturday. So we just have a broad area here of storms. Not to get overly detailed. 60 hours out, so things will change, but still, general idea. And then we get into the 9th and the 10th. These all could be severe storms. Every single one of them. Tuesday is another severe day that I'm watching here. We have these clusters of storms forming over the southern and central plains. Could get the job done for severe weather. We'll have to watch. Currently, our outlooks don't go out this far. We wouldn't go crazy here, but we might watch for that a risk to drop. So we'll see that. And this makes its way, guys. It kind of gets this system all the way to the eastern seaboard. So we might have to watch the southeast for more severe weather as we get towards the middle of the month. Now, speaking of the middle of the month, you likely clicked on this timestamp because you want a longer range discussion. Please hear me say that I think we're going to have a pattern change here. You'll see these these blue dotted lines that go like this. The 540 line right there, that is essentially our freezing line aloft. All this up here is cold air, and that's why anything falling in it falls to snow or freezing rain, right? Well, let's get rid of that. So let's move on here. We will have a pattern change, and you'll see more snow developing. We're not talking about getting freezing temperatures all the way down to Florida again. Maybe it's possible, of course, but that's not what I'm talking about here. Just a pattern change here. Let's get towards mid-month. You see a lot more snow on the map here than there is right now. And that's because we have this pattern change. I mean, one of these drops of cold air gets the freezing line aloft, that is not at the surface, all the way down to essentially the Gulf Coast. And this would really change up the way the weather is. I can tell right now we have a ridge spiking out west, trough digging in the east, and it's essentially just causing a pattern change and causing cooler than average temperatures to spill down from Canada. And we see snow working. I mean, look right here. We have snow squalls and snow showers in the southern Appalachian Mountains on March the 19th. Is it possible? Absolutely. We get out towards the end of this run, likely more severe weather ongoing. So do we bounce right back to severe weather? Very possible. Let's show you the GFS model so that you guys, as a viewer, can make your own decisions, right? Noticeably here, this is tomorrow morning. We have snow in the Northeast from the system. If it's cold enough, it could happen. Just a general idea. But let's see. Right about here, it shows our moisture in this risk area. So our GFS supports that. Look at the snow to the north. I mean, Nebraska points north. South Dakota, Minnesota here, there's snow falling. And then let's get out towards the 10th and the 11th. So still something expected to happen on the 11th. That time frame has kind of shifted around and gone in, gone out. But this is what we're looking at. Afternoon of Wednesday the 11th, we got snow and freezing rain in the Northeast. Possibly severe weather down to the south in Texas here. So definitely a broad area to watch there. And then the GFS is picking up on these shots of cooler air as depicted by these blue lines dropping to the south. And you can see we have a big snowstorm for areas of Canada. So we're not talking about just U.S. here, but we do cool down somewhat, getting right towards the middle of the month here. The middle of the month, guys, is now 10 days away. I mean, insane, right? But anyways, moving past that, we have Clipper systems roll through. We even have some sort of overrunning event get as far south as the Central Appalachian Mountains in Virginia. So want to note that. And then we have snow in the Northeast once again. And right at the end of the run, we kind of look to be in a battle zone here where we got temperatures doing two things. Up here, they're cold. Down here, they're warm. And then right in the middle, there's some sort of boundary that's dividing between the two. So something to watch there. So to show you some AI model guidance, let's just go over it here. I'm going to back this up a little bit. I was looking at it earlier. It shows the snow on the back side of the system as well as the severe weather to the south side. It does show it. We got a little bit further here. And then, so the 11th and 12th does bring a shot of cold air. That's depicted by this bold blue line dropping to the south. So the cold air filters in behind, and the result is snow in the Northeast. And then we have these kind of Clipper systems roll through. And right out at the end of this run, 240 hours away, Sunday the 15th, we have snow falling and a mix falling as far south as central Kansas. Is that a forecast? Is that final? No. But the pattern would support this. And let's see if the AIGFS agrees on that. We got to back this up here. This is starting off tomorrow morning here, tomorrow afternoon. It gets this snow. You can see it reasonably heavy, all the way down even to some counties in Kansas. So I want to note that. Severe weather on some sides. And then we get to the 10th and the 11th. It does show some sort of snowstorm for the kind of northern plains, northern Rockies, the Great Lakes, up into the maybe even the Northeast. Severe weather to the south. And then get out 240 hours. So it looks a bit warmer at this exact frame, not to be nitpicky, but we do have snow in the Northeast once again. So all that to say, still a lot of active weather out there. So let's discuss our pattern a little bit, why this is going to be happening. I got to back this up here. So sorry for the seizures that I probably just gave you. Let's see here. I have to, for whatever reason, the model run I had selected did not save here. Here we go. So this is our European ensemble. This is the 500 millibar height anomaly here. So pretty much what this shows you is whether we have troughing or ridging. The red indicates ridging and the blue indicates troughing. The blue is cooler air, red is warmer. So let's get out to tomorrow morning. We have this dip in the jet stream associated with our severe threat, right? And right here, it's very subtle, but here is our short wave, right in this area, these kind of these neutral colors here. And to get past that, you guys may not be able to see it. It's right here. This Baja low kind of spins around down there in areas of California and obviously points south. And then it spins there, and finally it ejects, but it's pretty weak in its ejection. And that's exactly why on the 11th, when we were talking about some sort of major storm, it kind of fell apart because the evolution of our upper air pattern has changed. And that's what happens sometimes. But look at the eastern half of the United States just cooking under this ridge. We'll look at temperatures in a second. But this troughing, this cooler than average air is spending its sweet time up here in the north, third or so of the country. So there's just it just sits there, and we get out. This is a pattern. This is a big deal to me. We get out towards the 17th and the 18th, and our pattern really flips the other way. Right? This is a big difference. A big tall spiking ridge out west, very strong, and then a very potent looking trough digging down in the east. Is this going to bring freezing temperatures way down here? Maybe. I'm not going to call for that quite yet. It's possible. And we move past that. It kind of sticks around, and everything kind of gets more neutral as we get towards the end of the run, March the 20th. But we do have ridging sticking around out west. So something to watch there. And so I'm probably going to have to switch runs here. I did not save the run that I had selected. So here we go here. This is, I had to back this up. So let's see here. So let's get into tomorrow morning. You'll see a lot of reds and blues on this map. Red is warmer than average temperatures at the surface. Blue is colder. And you'll see a lot of red. But, I mean, there is blue on the back side of this. A very strong, tight temperature gradient here getting into tomorrow evening. So you'll see that these reds stick around until we get towards the 10th. And you see a lot of these blues start to intrude the northern areas of the country and Canada here. And it's not a crazy sweep, but it does kind of bring us maybe closer to normal as we get into the 12th in some areas. Still kind of cooking along the I-95 corridor here, about a week away. And then where do we go from there? Well, this is 15th, 16th, 17th. So this is exactly what happened because we had that trough and the ridge setup, right? That's the setup. Cold air filtering down from Canada, ridge spiking up out west. And so this is the result at the surface. 294 hours, it could change, but model guidance has kind of been showing something like this. And this is, we're talking, 10 to maybe as much as, or 5 to 6 degrees to as much as 10 degrees below average in these blues that you see. So we're not talking about freezing cold temperatures, but it might bring us, a little bit closer to what you'd expect, this time of year. And do they stick around? Well, kind of. They're stubborn. I mean, even at the end of the run here, even though that trough kind of let up, we still have these cooler than average temperatures in the east. So be careful about planting crops because they could be affected by something like this. And all of this can be summarized, guys, by our activity map, or as I like to call it, our activity map here. So this is our total amount of precipitation that is expected to fall over the next 260 hours. That's about 11 or 12 days. And so what I get from this is that the Central Plains and even the areas of the Deep South are the target areas, right? You can see this broad corridor of the most rain. Areas in the Arklatex here are looking at 6 inches maybe of total rainfall over the next, week and a half. Is that final? Is that a forecast? Is that what the professionals are saying? Not necessarily, but it's very possible. A model runs like this show it. And this is just from repeated areas of rain and severe weather in this area. That's all this really is. And there's a lot of moisture to be had up in the areas of the Midwest and the Northeast. Some of this will follow as snow. We'll look at that in a second. And the second is right now. So this is our latest European ensemble run for snow. And you can see how the northern tier of the country, northern third, looks solid for snow over the next. This is a little bit less time here. So this is the next 360 hours. Just about 15 days. And I mean, you can see it quite clearly here. Look at the northern, even central plains, all the way over to the northeast. We have a very notable signal. The northeast, based on this run, is looking at maybe upwards of a foot in some areas. So I also want to note, guys, it has a signal for snow as far south as the deep south in the southern plains. Is that saying that we're going to have a snowstorm in mid to late March? No, but it does tell me that some of these members that make up the European ensemble have shown something odd. So, all of that to say, our active weather isn't going anywhere, and a pattern change is imminent. So, thank you guys for tuning in this evening. I know this video is late in the afternoon. I just kind of took the day off for making videos today. I'm probably not going to be making morning videos, at least for the time being, just because there's not really a lot to talk about on a day-to-day basis, and you may have heard other people say that viewership on these videos is just way down. So if you are a viewer that tunes in consistently, I appreciate it. But nevertheless, we'll keep making content. Probably just going to be one video a day though in the afternoon and evening hours. So appreciate you guys tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one.